Hey ya. Hey ya, hey ya. No hey ya. Today, today we are going to paint. I don't know. Paint something. We's gonna paint something. Something that we're gonna be painting. So, I don't know what I'm gonna paint. I just gotta get painting again. Parchment paper. Just gonna cut a piece out here for my wet palette. Choppy, choppy. Yes, I know. I should have done this before I started streaming, but you know, some people just need to realize what kind of effort goes into each stream before you see the final product. I got this. Let it do its weird little curly thing. There we go. Let that soak in some moisture. Yes, all the things you are not seeing off stream on the side is the boring preparing of the wet palette. There we go. A few drops in there. Yeah, basically that. So that's what I'm doing off screen here. So I was looking at what I have to paint, and man, I tell you, I have a lot of things I could be painting right now. Thing is, what do I feel like painting right now? Keep that to the side. No, I really don't feel like painting an atlas right now, but it's cool. It's cool looking. I'm using a. I'm actually using a new new camera. It's not a camera. It's actually a phone. I've got one of my phones hooked up here, so I'm using a Samsung S20 for this right now. It's much better than you guys viewing this through one of my webcams. So the webcam up top here, so that one there. I mean, it's okay, but there's limitations. Once you start zooming in, you start getting pixelation and stuff, and that's the problem. You want to be able to see something clear and crisp, and so therefore I've been like I'm a stickler for keeping my nails in good shape. I don't chew my nails. Chewing nails is a sign of something obviously wrong in your life. So just putting that out there means you gotta sort something out. But and here I am with a long thumbnail. So usually Seems like my thumbnails grow longer than my rest of my fingernails, only because you know, playing guitar and stuff like that. So instead of playing with these, Rick, let's get on to some painting. So, dude from Mantix. I don't know the name of this guy. It was one of the mercenary aliens from Star Sega. Yeah, Star Sega. One of the extra boxes that you can pick up. So these are the mercenaries, and this is one of the goons in that box kit. I don't know what kind of color scheme should I be painting this guy. Like, you know, his flesh should be something interesting because he's like an alien, right? Maybe something purpley. I don't know. Maybe. I mean, it looks like he's not wearing anything on his arms. He's got this protrusion happening on his elbows, which is kind of cool, I guess. Oh, what do you guys? What do you think? Anybody out there got any ideas? No, nobody's watching yet. Well, there's supposed to be 2 people out there watching right now. Hey, John, how's it going? Good to see the basic expert out there. Yeah, just contemplating on what to paint this guy, and yeah, decisions. So, thinking purple. I don't know. What do you think, John? Well, you didn't miss much. So, um, yeah, just just me kind of getting stuff set up, and that was about it. Do you do much mini painting yourself? Purple, yeah, that'd be Thanos like. Uh, and orange would be too much like the Thing. Uh, I think, because he's got those protruding eyebrows and stuff. So that might be an issue. Let's get some. I don't know, man. Red would look too much like Red Skull, and John. The thing I do is if I'm not gonna paint them, I all I do is this. I just give them a dusting of the gray, and then I basically put a black wash so it brings up everything, and that's what I go with if I'm just trying to get a mini out onto the board right away. Blue green, blue green, eh? That could be an option. So yeah, yeah, maybe I will do that. I will go with the basic experts' advice. So yeah, get some white, um, some blue here, dark Prussian blue, but that we're gonna lighten that up. So that's the thing. That's the thing with blue and white. Man, this thing doesn't sound like I put any of the little round ball bearings in it. grab a couple of them here, see what I can do. So yeah, Prussian blue. No, there's no assigning blame here. I've decided that I'm going with suggestions, and it will look good. I will make it look good. And let's see. Now, usually I'm all set up and I've got a little poker item here that I can use to. Oh man. Okay. Prussian blue paint. So white. To lighten up that Prussian blue, I'm going to use some ochre. I need to use more. I got to stop using white as a way to get paints brighter. I got to start using like warmer colors. Otherwise, they get too saturated. Although it's going to turn a little bit green, but we're gonna use that. So, John, what brings you into my neck of the woods? Is there a lack of entertainment on YouTube right now? Or are you just seeing your old buddy Rick here? Yeah, there we go. Mix the heck out of these guys. All right. Oh, thanks, man. I'm kind of a nerd, so I don't consider myself cool. um, every once in a while, I'll have somebody like actually talking to me on through like Discord or something. So if any time you ever want to like do that, like I usually have like somebody like Dwayne or somebody talking to me and reminiscing about the old days, the old band days, something like that. Um, hmm. But yeah, if you ever want to hook up on the on Discord and I can stream you yakking to me and vice versa. It's no problem. But let's see. There we go. A little bit of yellow. So in case somebody wants to be curious and wondering what I'm doing in the background here, it's just this. Putting some colors on down on here. Oh, need a little bit of mixing on that one. That's the thing about Vallejo paint. It's oh, awesome. Thanks, man. Yeah, yeah. I wasn't expecting you to like jump on like right now. I'd have to set things up too on this end, of course. And I don't even think I have my Discord on right now. I was just talking to Spencer about creating his character, and he's working on it. We're gonna be doing what's uh we're gonna be doing the Strange, so it's cipher system. And I know you haven't dabbled in cipher that much yourself, or rarely, or any. Well, there's one crazy clog in there. There we go. But cipher is like my favorite to game master with, because it's really easy. It's really easy. All the players do all the rolling. So they roll for their attacks. They roll for their defending against a challenge number. So that is all taken care of, and I don't have to really worry too much about like the mechanics of the game, because it's all pretty much based off of the target numbers. So if I say something's fairly hard to pick, I pick a target number, say 5. So 5 times 3 is 15. So they would naturally need a 15 or higher on the die roll to achieve it. But they can lower that target number too. So instead of being a 5, they can lower it to 4 if they have skills and that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's pretty cool. And I just like that freedom, instead of having to go ahead and make like like there are some there are cards. Well, I have all the cards, which makes it so much easier. The cards have all the challenge ratings on them and everything. So you just pull out a card, and you're just basically have all your info right there, and you can proceed with a combat or something like that. No problem. Like and you just jot down the basic hits that the monster takes, and you know how much damage everything's gonna do basically by the die roll. One die roll. You don't even need to roll damage rolls. I know it sounds weird, but the span of how much damage you do is also varied as well, due to the higher you roll, the better damage you're going to do. Oh, okay, let's get to painting here. I gotta find a brush. Brush. Let's see, what do I have here? Okay. All right. So, in case nobody has been watching, just basically a brush that I pick up from Michaels. These are acrylic. They're actually the pro acrylic ones, so level 3. And this is a number 2 brush, so it's got a pretty nice point to it. I would say that would be your atypical brush that you would use in painting in miniature. Sometimes I'll use like a 5 or something, which is a lot bigger. But in the everyday kind of scheme of things with painting, I usually go with a 2. And these are pretty reasonably priced. They're not super expensive. They're pretty good for the brush. Brush is good quality. It's not something that you would it's not like you're getting something that's made from weasel hair or something, but it's pretty good. Okay, I'm just mixing kind of a mid blue color, because I will be using probably a bit of a wash on this guy too. Let's see. Let's go a little darker to start. So, yeah, no, I love it. Ever since I got into playing it, it's been an awesome system. Like, once you start, it's just like, wow, what have I been doing all this time, right? Um, why have I been working so hard at putting together a game? Like, I find Travelers that way too. It's fairly easy to do, especially in a situation where you're not using a virtual tabletop. In on my live stream of the Strange, we will not be using. Well, we will be using Fantasy Grounds, but we won't be using it extensively for any combats. Just for die rolling. That's basically about it. So all the die rolling will be committed on there. But I won't be using it for targeting and all that stuff because I feel that sucks up part of the flow of the game, is assigning targets and all that stuff. And that's the thing, you have to kind of find a balance when using a virtual tabletop to, are you relying too much on it? Are you wasting too much time? Clicking on stuff, showing things when because I kind of feel like it kicks me out of the flow of the game. Um, so have you ran a lot of Traveler? Is that like one of your mainstays, or is it, do you just run it every once in a while, John? Okay, okay. So you're not gonna like stream it or anything. You're just playing all just basically with privately with the group, and because it's such a you know people don't know this maybe out there too much, but trying to organize the game and get it all set up, balancing all your voices and everything, and then Windows changing everything on you once in a while because it doesn't update or something like that, and then suddenly you're back to square one again. It's kind of a pain. Yeah. Um. Yeah. BX and all that. That's. I mean, I haven't. And when I got back, yeah, I'm kind of more or less explaining this to anybody that reviews this video. When I got back into playing D&D and role-playing games in general, I came back in the mid 2000s where that kind of stuff was barely. I think there was Osric was starting to take shape, and people were talking about that. But as far as something that was printed, the the original like D&D that I used to play was second edition. I played the Holmes version as well. That's where I started. But as far as like a mainstay version of D&D, I was playing basically AD&D and then I went on to second edition. We pretty much at that time just kind of blended. So a lot of our characters that we made in first like AD&D ended up getting ported over to second edition gradually, and then we just ended up playing second for a while. We didn't use a whole lot of the brown books. Well, that, yeah. Yeah, first ed, it's a little different than second, just slightly. Um, and it's true, like James from uh, from DM James was talking there about his experiences with it. Yeah, it started. They ended up changing things up into Thaco then, and that was the big thing. That was the big um, difference. Instead of using an array, just getting a second coating going on here. I have a pretty dry room right now because you would normally wouldn't be putting a another coat on right away, but you can tell my room is so dry right now. I do have a heater going because right now it's around -5 degrees Celsius outside. In my basement, like I have a fairly big room in my basement that I've set up my little workshop here, and it gets pretty cold down here, and I don't want my paint to freeze or any of my 3D printing resin or anything. I don't want that to get cold and have issues. And when it gets to winter time here, it's like I say, it would go down to -50. Well, ended up going -56 this year. Usually it goes down to like a -50 is what we usually see for our coldest in the winter. And yeah, it's pretty brutal. Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, it's that's a big difference in temperature where you're at. It was there was a kind of a blizzard that just recently went across Canada, and that kind of sucked. We got the cold. We didn't get the blizzard, but just the cold was pretty mean. So a little bit too much wet. I need to get a cloth here, paper towel, good old paper towel. You know, instead of doing this, you know, there's a really cool shortcut way of doing some painting here. So I'm just gonna go blue, okay? Now because I'm not worried about the armor or anything right now, because I'm concentrating on just the skin color, and that is what I'm working on. Let that dry up a little. Usually I have this guy mounted on like a cap or something, kind of like this. So I'm an old guy. I end up on a lot of meds, so I end up with lots of medicine bottles. uh, yeah, 20s. Yeah, it would. That's cold. It's not quite. I think it's like 25 is our 0 degrees Celsius up here, so. And way Celsius is here, in case anybody's wondering. 0 is when water freezes, so if you look at Fahrenheit, I think it's 25. So yeah, it's fairly cold. Yeah. Oh, that's hardcore. Yeah. Well, our houses are built differently up here, and the thing is, it's not so much the cold. It's like you can tolerate it because it's a dry cold. It's not a wet cold. But like if I was back in BC, we had more moisture in the air, and if you hit like a minus 20 degrees Celsius there, it was brutal. It was like your bones were freezing. You were getting this total chill all over your body because of the moisture in the air. Where here, minus 20 is pretty easy, um, pretty easy to endure. Oh, okay, okay. I did not know that. 32 degrees Fahrenheit. But yeah, if you're in a drier climate, that cold doesn't bite into you so much. But when you get that wind, and we get a lot of wind here. In fact, we're kind of in a tornado area up in Canada, so um, that can happen. It's kind of very rare, but it has happened in the past. And when you get that breeze running through, and it's like that minus 20 to minus 40, then it gets to be pretty, you know, you're just dying. You just don't want to be out in the cold. It's just brutal. All right, so we are going to be doing some dry brushing here. So this has been pretty much dry. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and dry brush some highlights onto this goon. So we'll get a bit of a kind of a creamy yellow going on here. And I think we might need a little bit more. Because yellow is a little hard to get onto a miniature, especially in a blackish background. Of course, it's going to look a little harsh at first, but we're going to tone that down. Of course, everybody's looking at this super close up, so when you look at these like zoomed out, it's not so scary looking. Now, once you get a bit of a wash over top of them, that helps. It's kind of like when I was doing this guy. It looks pretty harsh, but when you zoom out a bit, it gets to be a little bit easier on the eyes. All right. Oh yeah, Southern California. Yeah, I've been in that area during like November, but that was back in like 86 was when I went down there. We went to visit my buddy Ted's his dad down in, where was it? We went to San Francisco, stayed there for a week, and then we went to Anaheim, where his dad's friend James, he's like an old. He used to be like one of the. He's like a sheriff down there, and he's a retired sheriff. He actually worked on the Marilyn Monroe case, and this guy, he had his mustache, like he had one of those great big mustaches. He ended up mounting in a glass cabinet. It was a big kind of handlebar kind of mustache. It was pretty interesting. Man, that guy could drink, I tell you. uh, but yeah, he was an interesting character. But yeah, he talked about his some of the more interesting cases he was involved in investigating. So interesting people that you meet. But yeah, I went down there for basically a 2 week vacation, and then ended up I was working for a restaurant that these two gals owned this restaurant, and they were terrible with their money. Like, they owned like 3 restaurants in town, but they had this really bad gambling habit. So, oh, okay, cool. So, what ended up happening was my check. You know, I was like the head cook at one of their restaurants, and what happened was my check bounced, but it didn't bounce until I was already in the States, and my bank was like, you gotta come back up here. There's something wrong with it. And I was like, oh great. So I had to cut my vacation short. But anyways, that kind of sucked. I'm just looking for some blue wash. There we go. So we're going with the Army Painter blue wash. I don't use contrast paints, so yeah, it's kind of a neat. It's really weird going through back at that time, going through California. I've never seen like I've never imagined seeing the like going through San Bernardino and seeing just basically an ocean of houses before you. It's just like hill after area of houses. And I've never seen anything like that. Largest city I've seen before that was like Vancouver, and then when we got into LA itself, I was like, and I was driving this old Ford pickup truck, a 78 Ford two-tone green thing, and and it was, man, it was crazy, crazy how big that city is. Seeing it in real life, like movies and stuff like that, doesn't do it justice. Like, you have to actually see something like that for real with your own 2 eyes, just to get the impact. You know how vast the city is. And yeah, that was back. Like I said, that was back in '86. I couldn't imagine how big it looks now. Yeah, yeah. Driving through there at that time was crazy. It was like if you were using, trying to remember using the far inner, like the left hand part of the lane, you definitely had to be driving super fast. and only certain vehicles could be driving in the far right lane. So you had to kind of stick to the middle, or or drive like a maniac on the outside lane. But yeah, I don't blame you. It was some pretty crazy driving. We drove from Vernon, BC, down to what was this first town that you was it what red it was red something the name of the town, just Northern California. It took me 14 hours, and the thing was, on driving through Wenatchee, like through Washington State, Wenatchee Pass had just closed, and my truck had just made it into Wenatchee before before the pass closed. There was like a blizzard happening, and for the last 200 yards before I got to we didn't even know it was going to be like the cusp of the hill. The last 200 yards of it was just basically me and Ted, rotating out, trying to push the truck, and we just got it over the hill because it was so slippery. And then once we were over top of that hill, it was all downhill from the rest of the. We were like, "Holy smokes! This thank God," because we thought we were going to be stuck out in the Reading, yeah. And then we ended up staying overnight in Reading, yep. And it took us 14 hours to make it there from Vernon, BC. That's kind of like this mid-south area of British Columbia. And that was crazy. And then we stayed overnight in the hotel in I can't even remember which hotel it was in LA when we finally made it to LA. But it was bizarre because the room next to us had this guy's vehicle in front of it, which had the license plate saying Chick Corea. And me being a musician at the time, that was kind of exciting. But I didn't get to see the guy, but I thought it was pretty cool that I was potentially sleeping in the room next to Chick Corea. So it's crazy. I just thought it'd be nice to meet the guy if I could, which would be cool. But never did. But that's okay. I've met a lot of other different stars in my young career as a musician. Even played with a few kind of semi-famous, if you were to call it that, people that like sons of famous Canadian musicians. So let's get to taming this down now. So adding a wash helps bring down a bit of the color, but I'm going to be going over this with some blending techniques to help it out. So let's see. So Traveler, the classic. Classic is a little different than the Mongoose stuff that's out there now. I mean, it's close. They're pretty much interchangeable. Like, you can take a lot of information out of modules and stuff from the old days there, and definitely quickly adapt it, apply it with very little issue to the new stuff. So I get out the pooling in his eyes here. And I played a ton of it back in the day. When I was first introduced to Traveller, I picked up the Snapshot. Was my first foray into the Traveller universe, and I thought that was cool because we were there was Alien was popular back then, and we were like thinking, oh, how could we play this with because Snapshot was basically a miniatures war game, but using chits instead, so the cardboard chits. And we didn't have a lot of I know you did. Yeah, that was pretty cool. Yeah, there's you, and then there's Shauner did a lot of work with Mongoose as well. He's also in the credits. Sean Driscoll. Have you were you have you met Shauner like before all this, or like because I used to follow Shauner long time ago when I was basically into doing 3D with True Space, and that was my go-to. Caligari True Space 3 was where I first started getting into 3D modeling. And that was late 90s. It's when me and my future wife met, and I got out of music. Yeah, Shauner's pretty awesome, and I'm trying to figure a way to get my players to try the Shauner method of gaming. Oh yeah, okay. Shauner was like on all kinds of different forums before that, and I definitely remember his name back then, and even he's pretty cool. He does a lot of 3D stuff, which is what I did as well. So I'm trying to get back into it. I just got myself letting this dry off. I'll pull this guy out. I got this thing here to show you basically the box part of it here. So big 16-inch screen, Canvas Pro 16, to replace my like I have an old Wacom Cintiq, the 12WX from back in 2004. I think I picked that thing up, and it still goes, but the thing is, it's such a small screen. it's so small, and this canvas is actually pretty awesome. I'm really enjoying using it. It's a pretty good tablet. Like I thought. Now there was a little bit of an I know you use Clip Studio, so when you're using a tablet from them, you have to go ahead and switch it to I believe you have to switch it to PC tablet instead of the Win tablet setting, and it corrects itself because it works perfectly as long as you aren't on the actual canvas, like you until you get on the canvas, and then your cursor is like 3 inches away from where your pen is, and the only way you can rectify it is by switching that setting. So yeah, so your Cintiq is just like an inch bigger than my my old one. So, But you know, it went through a lot of use, and it's like I say, it's still pretty much perfect. Like I thought, you know, I would maybe bend out the cables and break things, and eventually it'd be uh, you know, trouble. But no, it's been surprisingly a very durable um, tablet. Because I thought, you know, what could be worse when I first bought it? I mean, if it does have issues later on, I could just use it as like a Intuos, basically. And yeah, it's been pretty good. My daughter does a lot of illustrations and stuff. Yeah, yeah, 10 years old, man. Yeah, yeah. Well, you still got a fair bit of life. Mine lasted, you know, it's still alive, and mine's, you know, almost 20 years old. You know, when you think about it, like shy, right? 18 years roughly. So I wouldn't expect it to the 13 to die for for a while. So it's they're pretty good. So now I'm just going to start blending things in a little bit more here. And yeah, I was actually surprised at how well constructed the Huon tablet was. I know they had some issues in the early days, and they had finally gotten to the batteryless pens now. So that's where they're at now. Let's see if we can blend this in a little bit more. He's got no nose, this dude. And yeah, I'm quite impressed with the workmanship of the new tablet. I got it for a really good price on where was it, Amazon. I picked it up for uh, pretty much just basically around 420 dollars Canadian, which US would be about maybe 390 or something in US dollars, somewhere around there. And yeah, that was a good price to just check it out. Anyways, they had like a sale where they only had so many units, and then there was also a coupon code that you could get, and yeah, it was good. Yeah, XP pen. Yeah, I've heard, I've seen some kinds of, you know, conflicting reports on that. That's why I went with the Hue, and I was like, it sounds like this one's getting a little bit better reviews on the craft, like the actual how durable the unit is and everything. That's why I went with it. So not that XP pen would be worse or not. I, you know, who knows who's doing the reviews on this. They may not have any experience with, you know, with other tablets, and so you have to kind of guess whether or not they have the experience to know what a good tablet is, or a bad tablet is, right? So this is where magic happens, is when you start blending things together on the miniature. I'm just in case you're wondering, I'm using a pair of these. So this does have a light built into it, but I'm not using the light because it makes having the batteries in there makes it really heavy on the head after a while. But I really like the little headset there because I need the magnification, that's for sure. And I think, if you're using something like that instead of, say, I'm just going to pull this down in front, one of these where they have the little viewer and you got the magnifying port in there. I find those very disorientating. When you're using that, you're getting that, when you're moving your eyes across into the viewport and away, it's really disorientating. But having these glasses on, just like this as a headset, has been pretty awesome. Like I would highly recommend these if you're ever getting into miniature painting. I'm gonna end up probably posting some stuff while I'm working on stuff in 3D in the upcoming bits here. I'm waiting for the temperature to get to the right, for venting for my 3D printer. But as it stands right now, it's just too cold right now to do, to have my windows open and I want to get printing stuff. That's for sure. And I want to start printing my own things too. So I used to do a lot of spaceships and stuff like that back in the old days, and there we go. And I actually do have quite a few of my 3D models saved on a disk before my hard drive finally failed, and from my old machine. And I can bring up some of those battleships and stuff that I created from back in the good old days there. And my daughter, she's got the Wacom 16 Pro, but man, she forked out the money for that one. She got it just before Christmas too. But she does some she has her own art site. She does stuff on Instagram. Some of her followers are some pretty prominent rock musicians, and they've featured her work on some of their own Instagram sites too. Particularly the guitar player from Greta Van Fleet. So she did an image of him, which he took to heart and featured it prominently on his site. So, which was pretty awesome. And she's been getting a lot of commissions ever since then. So she's been busy working away. I kind of gave her a warning back in the day that, sometimes you end up doing illustrations that you just don't want to do. At least back in the day, it was, you didn't have the internet like you do now. And I mean, I may have sounded a little bit negative, but I was, trying to, say, look, it's okay if you fail, but try, I don't know if being so close up is yeah, it's a constant struggle. I don't know if being so close up is a curse or a blessing. Uh, because I gotta be like extra careful now in presenting stuff so it looks good. But yeah, so yeah, my philosophy here with miniatures is it doesn't matter if you get a little bit of yellow or blue on this part. You're gonna be putting paint on that part anyways, and it's a lot harder to keep to like do the armor right and then do the skin color because man it's going the opposite way is not easier I find. Now I'm looking at his at what he's got for hands. I'm think are those now do you think that is skin or yeah that might be skin. This part of his hands, it looks like, yeah, that could be skin with kind of like some bone extrusions on there. I am going to take it as if that's the case. So I'm going to blue out those. Yeah, it goes from, he's hulking up. He's like the Hulk. Um, I'll probably do another wash of blue, but I'll actually make a wash instead of using this stuff. I'll actually make a wash and then put it over top. And I think I get a lot more control over the wash that way. At least I feel like I'm in control of the wash. Yeah, sometimes you just need that one good break to get into, being an illustrator. I mean, I did my thing with the NASA stuff back in the day, um, but I had interest in just getting back into music at the time, so that's where I went. And then once my kids were old enough to, you know, um, they were old enough to fend for themselves because they were just little kids back then. Um, I decided to just go back into miniature painting because my son wanted to get the Dungeons and Dragons stuff. His first game was the what was it called? Wrath of a Chardalon. He liked those games, so he was, I kind of introduced them to the to playing board games. So that's what they were doing, and board gaming it was where I ended up painting miniatures again. So ended up painting all the ones for the Wrath of our Chardalon, and he helped me paint some of them, and then he kind of just like, oh, the painting's too much. And he stopped painting. I painted the rest of them up, no problem. And then I ended up picking up a game of Talisman, and went with Talisman, painted all those miniatures, and I just kept on going. Now I got all these crazy board games that I have to paint miniatures for because my miniature board game collection started growing from then on. That is some, this camera on this phone is freaking awesome. Like I had never been able to get sharper pictures than that ever from a webcam. Like seriously. I'm glad I went this way. What happened was I ended up. I have my other phone here. I ended up. This here is a Note 8 with the pen and everything. Uh, so my this is my original phone, and the thing was I I ended up, you know, out of the number of years that I've had this phone, I bought it from brand new, and I've never misplaced it until one day it just disappeared while I was working, and I ended up. Yeah, I ended up uh, like going, well, okay, I probably lost the phone and somebody's got it because, I'm in a real retail store and that's where I lost it. I thought possibly somebody just walked off with it. But what happened was I ended up getting another phone and putting it on the payment plan kind of thing, right? And I ended up picking up the Samsung 20 for fairly cheap because it's not like a super new phone, but it's newer. And but the camera on it is freaking awesome. And this is just using the camera. I'm streaming it through my um, Wi-Fi to my computer, so it's picking it up, connected that way. And yeah, I'm thrilled. This is awesome. Like I'm finally getting some uh, good visuals on what I'm doing when I'm painting. So yeah, 1080 is just, yeah, it's just not enough. And when I've tried with this, I have this Logitech. What number is it here? It's a no, it just says HD. It's like 920. It's the 922, I think it is. Um, it's a good camera, and that's the one that you are seeing up here. This is the 922. Now I could crank it up so I could see like really close up, but the problem is when you do that, your bandwidth goes awful. It just it doesn't work. It goes all choppy on you. So, but streaming through this camera, and mind you, I don't have this camera on like on my phone here. I don't have it on. I just have it showing basically a photo, like it's ready to take a photo. I don't have it on video. And it's streaming the picture that is taken here right to my OBS, and which is awesome. So there you go. Way better high definition imaging that you're seeing there for sure. Once again, technology for the win. Woohoo! All right. Should be dry enough to do some dry brushing here. Now it's kind of awkward the way I have the camera, the phone set up in front of me, because kind of in my field of vision. But I got one arm wrapped around it this way, this arm wrapped around it the other way, but it seems to be working okay. So there we go. I should mount this guy onto one of these caps here. It's just yeah, if you're just use the camera off of your, if you got a fairly decent phone, just use that, because like I'm using this thing called I can't read it here. Let me go take a look on my screen. So I'm using E2E Soft IV Cam. That's the name of it, IV Cam. And so you just get an app that connects to your phone. You get the a program that connects onto your computer, and boom, you got yourself a pretty awesome camera taking pictures of everything. So because you know the cam on your phone is so much more superior than the ones that you get for streaming. So that's what I would do. You can get the free version. It does give you like a watermark, but if you're using OBS, you can cut out the watermark by trimming your view. But I did plunk down the coin. It was like $35 for the activation, and then you don't have any like ads or anything popping up or anything. Yeah, try the the demo version. But I think it was a website that, I mean, it was a YouTube video that I seen that showed how to do it, and yeah, just watch a video on it, and it shows you a couple of hacks you can do to get the, if you don't want to uh, do the where your phone is being picked up by your Wi-Fi, you just want to have it connected with a cable, like your like attaching your phone to your computer. There's a hack that you can use in your phone to go ahead and have it read through the USB instead. So for me, the Wi-Fi is right above my head, so in the room above me, and so there's no latency. I basically see exactly uh, the same movement that I'm doing here on the computer, and I'm pretty impressed with it. It's it was it's a game changer for me if I'm showing painting miniatures and stuff. So for me, it's awesome. I like this. Now let's get a bit of yellow on this guy now. The thing is, you don't want to get your brush too wet when you're doing this, but you want to be able to blend it in. It's got to be just wet enough. And you can see if it's too wet, it's just going to get too sloppy. You don't want to be sloppy. And this is like extreme close up too. I mean, man, like you're not seeing this much detail in real life. You're seeing these miniatures from at least a foot above, and the way this camera is looking at them, it's like, it's like you're like 2 inches away. So it's upping my game. I have to be really, really good to make it look good. It's forcing me to become a better painter, because you're seeing it from this distance, and it's got to look good from here. It's got to look good super close up. Okay, he's got some sort of a weird nostril thing going on there in his nose, and now I have to figure out these nodules on him. And I think those are like nodules on the end of his chin as well here too. So I might have to put on a like a cream color almost, maybe, on those things, probably. Hey John, I appreciate you joining in on the chat here. It gives me something to yak about instead of being kind of aimless and rambling. Yeah, I ramble anyways. Let's see. So I'm thinking probably the pale flesh here might be good as a base to start with those nodules. See how it looks. Yeah, that's the thing. Technology, you're learning new things every day, and when I first started, I never even thought of using OBS at all. It was just me just taking videos from my camera basically and converting them. And that's basically all I did for the first little while. And then I was trying to figure out ways to do things that made things faster, like streaming directly, which makes then you don't have the issues of having to edit, and all the time spent editing is a time sink as well. But then I switched up some software and stuff like that, and sometimes I will do my little animated guy when I'm talking. Like I haven't done that in a while. I've just kind of been just doing this. So I took I used to take what was it called, Anime Studio Pro, and use that. Now, I could be using a little bit more of a detail brush on this, but I think I'm getting this pretty good. Well, okay, that one is a challenge to pick out here on the... So I used Anime Studio and took an image off of the Art Breeder site and did that little avatar, which is my avatar that you see on my on my YouTube channel. So, which is the space dude, spacey space dude, who's on a stand. He's a miniature, and that's, if anybody was wondering what the heck that was, whether or not it was some character or something that I made myself. No, I used the AI to create it. Art Breeder's pretty cool that way. And yeah, using Anime Studio, I just put some bones in there and made him move basically to my voice track. But I have to pre-animate that stuff before it goes into the editor, and then I combine them both in the editor itself, and boom. Yeah, it's awesome for that. I have the paid. I bought I do the subscription. I feel it's worthy enough of my money to use a lot. So I've been using it tons in making NPC portraits for um, Fantasy Grounds, and you're able to tweak things a little bit more finer in the, like, if you want to get yourself a collection of good beards and stuff like that, for example, you can import a lot of that in from pictures that you get. Like, you'll take pictures of guys with kind of the beards that you're looking for, if you're looking for a bearded person. And you take about 5 or 6 pictures of different beards, but it gives the AI a little better perspective of what you're kind of pinpointing on the characters, and then you create a gene out of that, and then you can use that gene to mix with any of the random pictures that you see that come up, and that helps kind of key in on some cool elements. Like, if you started like making up a collection of Klingons with their different head wrinkles and stuff like that, and you ended up getting a whole bunch of those, and you put it into ArtBreeder, and then you create a gene for the foreheads, then you can go ahead and implement that with any of the pictures, and then you'll have a variety of different Klingons that you can that you can throw into your game, eh? So it's cool in that aspect that you can do that. So in case you're wondering if it's and there was somebody who was going back and forth with me on one of my comment areas in actually the Art Breeder video that I did, and she was asking me questions about that, whether or not it was worth getting. So um, like paying for the service, and I thought it was for me, for what I'm doing and the amount of stuff that I'm, like, you could use it for free. That's no problem. You're going to be able to get some decent pictures out of it. If you only need them to be 256 by 256, then it's perfect. Because when you're getting portraits, you don't really need any bigger than that. But if you're doing stuff like taking the face and then putting it onto, say, one of the bodies, it's definitely a bonus to do that. You can throw that into you can throw the head and the body into Clip Studio and mash away. Yeah, yeah. But even using just the free one, you can even blow up the images a little bit and do like a paint over on them as well. So that's always useful as well. At least it gives you a base to work on. I see a lot of people, like a lot of modules and stuff like that coming out today, where they're using the DAZ and Poser software, and they're not putting any effort into manipulating the images like we used to way back when. There was a lot of artists that used to just use it as kind of like a framework, and then once you got the framework, then you work on making the clothing like curve around the body and stuff like that, and add the shadowing, and you would work the heck out of the image that you basically didn't have anything left of the original render, and it was just basically a paint over that you did. And there was some really awesome artists in the Renderosity community that did some awesome work that way. I mean, a lot of us back then used to just use it as a tool because we knew the rendering wasn't good enough to create a final image. But there seems to be a lot of people out there nowadays that are just doing that and just use it as basically clip art that they sell on Drive-Through RPG, and people are just buying that clip art. The only thing that I bought out of that kind of stuff was the top-down portraits. So they were kind of like images that you could use on a virtual tabletop, which would just have the top down look. So it had that gauntlet kind of look to it, you know, like the top down of a character. And I think I've used a few of those in our Traveler game on the stream. So. But those are made by poser characters, basically, or Daz Studio characters, one or the other. I do have Poser myself. I have Poser 11 Pro, and I don't use it that much, and I've collected a lot of stuff over the years. But and I'll probably use it a lot more just to get kind of like a base ready for my 3D printer. So it would be so nice to get that thing going. It's an Elegoo Saturn. It's a huge beast of a machine, 4K. So it should be good enough to do miniatures like this, you know. And it'll save me a lot of money that way in the long run, and I'll be able to make my own stuff and sell it online. You know, the thing is, if you're going to get into 3D printing and making 3D STLs, I wouldn't sell the STLs. That's just taking money out of your pocket. What you do is you make the STLs, you keep them yourself, and you print them yourself, and then you sell the prints. I mean, if somebody comes along and takes a camera, I know you can get apps that you can use on your phone that will re-image stuff, so you get a 3D rendition. You can use that. They can use that. That's fine. They're not getting the actual miniature from you, so it's a lot more work for them. I think the cost involved kind of doesn't make it worth it unless that's what you're doing all day is taking images of miniatures and converting them to 3D. But yeah. So we are at the hour and a half mark of the stream, I guess, coming up real quick here. And so for now, this is where I'm going to stop with this guy. And ta-da! So far, so good. So I don't know. Hopefully, this kind of gives you an idea of not to give up on something that looks rough after you're like that as you're creating it. Like, it's gonna look rough until you start smoothing things out. So don't just give up on it. So there's going to be a lot of stuff I can still do with it. I can still add some extra highlights on here. I'm probably going to use a little bit more of this cream to highlight everything and do that sort of stuff. But I'll do that on another stream. So coming up, I'll try to keep my paint streams on. Oh yeah, probably Mondays like this, and then because usually Mondays are my days off from work, so Mondays and Wednesdays. And yeah, so far so good. Yeah, I really like that camera. I don't know if you like the camera, like the visuals you're getting here. Let me know in the comments. Thanks to John, the basic expert, for enduring this hour and a half with me. Maybe next time, like I say, probably about the same time as well, around that one. Well, it was 1:30 p.m. for me till 3. Uh, if you're up to it, John, yeah, I'll pop you on. We can do a a yak and chat kind of thing if you want. Talk about role playing games, maybe some questions about games that I've encountered, or suggestions for neat stuff. That sort of, there might be some games you know about that I don't know about, and we can trade off some war stories and stuff like that. But anyways, thanks everybody for watching in the future. All right, yeah, yeah. Just let me know if, like I say, it's usually my days off are Mondays and Wednesdays. So take care. Have an awesome day, and if you can, subscribe.